Hey YouTube, ValleyGirl5678 here, and it's time to talk about this new Olivia Rodrigo album, Guts. This is Queen Olivia's sophomore album, following her massively successful debut, Sour, in 2021, which followed her breakout singles of all breakout singles, Driver's License. Overall, this album, Guts, is a natural and almost obvious progression/development from and of Sour, even down to the fact that this album is called Guts, another four-letter word, but instead of referencing something that is simply unpleasant, like feeling or tasting something sour, she's referencing something much more grotesque and uncomfortable, like guts. And the content of the two albums really showcase this idea. And I think this is all really smart and well done, because Guts isn't really that different from Sour. It's just a bit more of a grown-up version. This is most obvious with the sonic developments from Sour to Guts, Guts being much more grungy, as well as the songwriting in general being a bit more intricate and experimental, if you will. But a lot of the same ideas are present here, just with a bit more life experience and therefore perspective. And while this is relevant just like generally throughout the album, you can even pinpoint it down to specific songs. For example, where Sour had Jealousy Jealousy, Guts has Pretty Isn't Pretty. Jealousy Jealousy was a mere representation of Olivia's feelings of jealousy, whereas in Pretty Isn't Pretty, Olivia delves deeper into why all of this jealousy and not feeling good enough is so present in her life and pretty much everyone else's lives, that she makes a point to note with lyrics that are directly referencing the listener. These reasons simply being the impossible beauty and just general standards created by capitalism to sell more and more and more. This song obviously has very good messaging, especially given the fact that Olivia's fan base in general is quite young. But it's probably my least favorite song on the album, mostly because the chorus doesn't really do much for me, but I do think it's a pretty well-produced song. These ideas of the impossibleness of being specifically a girl or a woman in modern society are in fact how Olivia opens this album with All American Bitch, which again feels like a natural progression from Sour's opening track, Brutal. Again, instead of simply stating the fact that it's brutal out here, Olivia is pinpointing, albeit in incredible detail, why it is in fact so brutal out here, especially in America, obviously, All American Bitch. And then she even furthers this idea of the struggle of being a young woman in America by bringing the ideas of modern fame and celebrity that is especially American in, as the major difference in her life from when she wrote Sour to now is that her level of fame has grown exponentially. She does this notably with the line, "I'm grateful all the time," and she puts it really specifically in this quote from her interview with Phoebe Bridgers. And then on top of all that, there are multiple references to American angsty teen pop culture, from Miley Cyrus's Start All Over to Blink-182 to Lana Del Rey with I'm Pretty When I Cry. So while I thought Brutal was a really iconic opening track for Sour, this takes the cake. I fucking love this song. And then as a cherry on top, the track ends with a knock on a door, which leads right into the beginning of the next track, Bad Idea Right, with the sound of the door opening and her saying, hey. Bad Idea Right was obviously the second single. It's obviously an amazingly written and produced song. And the song is like so 19 years old. Like it's so Canon Event Cannot Interfere. Speaking of Canon Event Cannot Interfere, that's right, Lacey. The Genius summary honestly puts the summary of the song perfectly. The lyrics in the chorus represent this idea perfectly. Now, the internet is trying to figure out who this Lacey person is. A lot of people think it's Gracie Abrams. A lot of people think it's Sabrina Carpenter. Obviously, there's a lot of similarities to Gracie Abrams' Amelie, but in my opinion, Lacey is not a actual person. Lacey is a representation of this phenomenon, this experience, these feelings of Olivia finding herself jealous of and comparing and being obsessed with. Girls Olivia feels like have this angelicness, skin like puff pastry, ribbons in the hair. This obviously all calls to aesthetics that are very soft and girly. You imagine ribbons and lace and honestly whiteness. Just like it's not one specific thing that Olivia is jealous of. It's not one specific girl, it's one specific idea of who Olivia feels like she's not. The song is of course tied to the jealousy, Pretty Isn't Pretty pipeline, but again, she takes it one step further with the blurred lines of the homoeroticness of it all. But of course we can't talk about gay shit without the iconic line in Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl. Everything I do is tragic, every guy I like is gay. Like that in itself is also very bisexual girl canon, but it is also very theater kid girl canon. Overall, the song is very well made down to its title, as it plays on the classic belief that kids who are homeschooled are socially stunted. I love the verses, but the choruses do fall a tiny bit flat for me. Like I feel like there's a bit of a drop of energy and build from the verses to the choruses. However, I feel like the outro kind of ends up making up for that. Now, a major theme on Guts that was not on Sour, but is again an unfortunate canon natural natural progression from the ages of 16, 17 to the ages of 19, 20 of being taken advantage of by older men. This is of course covered in the album's iconic lead single Vampire, which is a lyrically genius song with the use of the vampire metaphor, describing her ex as a vampire, someone who exploited her for his own benefit, and how that ties into the idea of guts. And the chorus is especially smart with this. And of course sonically the song is really well written, really well produced. It is surprising yet satisfying at the same time. The line "I've made some real big mistakes but you make the worst one look fine" is very reminiscent of a line from The Grudge, "and we both drew blood but man those cuts were never equal." In both of these lines Olivia is obviously acknowledging that she had some stake in what happened, but she's acknowledging that the mistakes that she made or what she did in the relationship in general was not remotely as bad as these 25, 26-year-old boys taking complete advantage of a 19-year-old girl. But gaslighting and manipulation is real, and we see this on Making the Bed and Logical. On Making the Bed, we see her almost like take it all on herself, which is gonna happen when you've been manipulated to think that, you know, you could have left whenever, you could have ended this whenever. And this does feel like a bit of a progression from Favorite Crime off of Sour. And then of course this is all present on Logical with the outro. The difference between Logical and Making the Bed is that Olivia is blatantly showing and describing her ex's dramatic gaslighting and manipulation that she obviously touches on in Vampire as well. The line "said I was too young, I'm too soft, can't take a joke, can't get you off." That line makes me so pissed off because it's like, yeah, she is too young for you. Stay away from her, bitch. I love the melody of the chorus, and her performance on the song is so satisfying. It feels so therapeutic for her. And then the track Get Him Back feels almost like a direct response to all of this, and it's such a catchy song. And it's so genius with the double entendre of get him back, like in a relationship sense, but then also like getting him back, like getting revenge, like doing what he did to her, making him feel how he made her feel. Like, I want sweet revenge and I want him again. Love is Embarrassing is fairly self-explanatory. I love this song sonically. Her performance overall is amazing, especially the verses. It just, it scratches this itch. And like the little screechy vocal inflections in the bridge. The closing track, Teenage Dream, is so genius to me in so many ways. In Brutal, the opening track of Sour, she says, "Where's my fucking teenage dream?" And here on the closing track of Guts, she apologizes to the listener for not being able to be that perfect teenage dream, a pressure that is put on pretty much every young pop starlet as they come up. Something that Katy Perry obviously referenced with her iconic album and song Teenage Dream. And then the end of this song is such a genius way to end the album lyrically and sonically, because it ends the album on a ballitic, emotional note, but also ties in the angst and the grunge that is so present on the album as well. It's so good. So overall, this is obviously a really great sophomore album. I really appreciate the connectedness to her debut album and what it represents, that being a lot of change happens between the ages of 17 and 20. But ultimately, you are still a teenager. She's only 20, she already has 2 iconic projects under her belt. I cannot wait to see where she goes from here. There aren't really any like lows on this album to me, but there are some mid moments, like the ones I mentioned, like Pretty Isn't Pretty and the chorus on Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl, as well as some others like sprinkled throughout the album here and there. But overall, this is a really great album, and it definitely is an improvement from Sour in my opinion. So I'm gonna give this album an 8. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please comment, like, and subscribe. If you want to see me react to this album, as well as react to all of the albums that I review on this channel, you should check out my Patreon linked below. If you want to see even more exclusive content from me, you should check out my sunroom, that is also linked below. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok to keep up with my silliness. And otherwise, I will see you in my next video. Bye!